The observation deck of the wandering star hummed with its usual mechanical rhythm, a sound that had become as familiar as breathing to those who called the colony ship home. Eli stood at the viewing port, his weathered hands pressed against the cool glass, watching the swirl of nebula clouds paint the void in shades of purple and gold. Behind him, small clawed feet pattered across the metal floor. The Kesh cubs had found him again. "Human Eli," chirped Raka, the smallest of the litter, her fur a soft gray that caught the starlight. "Tell us about Earth again." Eli turned, a tired smile creasing his face. At 73 years old, he was one of the oldest humans still aboard. One of the last who remembered soil beneath their feet and rain that fell from actual skies. The Kesh cubs, no taller than his knee, gathered around him like he was a living library, their large eyes blinking with innocent curiosity. "Earth?" He lowered himself slowly onto the bench, his joints protesting the movement. "What do you want to know this time?" "The oceans," squeaked another cub. "Were they really so big you couldn't see across them?" Eli chuckled, the sound raspy in his chest. "Bigger than this ship, little ones. So vast that you could sail for days and see nothing but water meeting sky." The cubs chittered excitedly among themselves. The Kesh were a young species, barely into their first century of space travel when their homeworld had been consumed by its dying star. Humanity had found them adrift, their generation ships failing, and had done what humans always did. They'd helped. Now, 3 generations later, Kesh and human children grew up together on colony ships like this one, heading toward a world that might become home for both species. And the forests? Raka pressed closer, her whiskers twitching. "With trees so tall they touched the clouds?" "Taller," Eli confirmed. He reached out and Raka climbed into his lap without hesitation, something that still amazed him. The Kesh had every reason to fear larger species. They'd been prey animals on their own world, but somehow they'd decided humans were safe. Redwoods that had been growing since before my great-great-grandparents were born. Some of them might still be there on the Earth we left behind. His voice caught on those last words. 40 years he'd been on this ship. 40 years since he'd volunteered to help escort the Kesh refugees to safety, knowing he'd never return. Earth was still there, still spinning in its familiar orbit around Sol, but it might as well have been in another universe. "Human Eli?" Raka's voice was soft, concerned. "You have water in your eyes." "Just tired, little one." He wiped his face with the back of his hand. "These old bones aren't what they used to be." The truth was more complicated. The weight of years aboard the ship was catching up to him. The doctors had been honest. His heart was wearing out and there was only so much they could do with the medical supplies available. He'd maybe have a few more months. Maybe less, but he didn't tell the cubs that. "They'd lost enough already. Will you tell us about the war?" asked another cub, his voice hushed with respect. "The one where humans saved everyone?" Eli shook his head. "That's not a story for today. Today I think I'd like to just rest a bit." He shifted on the bench, lying back slowly, and Raka scrambled to make room. "You cubs wear this old human out." The observation deck's lights had dimmed to simulate night cycle. Through the viewing port the stars wheeled slowly past, countless pinpricks of light in the darkness. Somewhere out there, years ahead at their current speed, was the world they were heading toward. A world with actual sunlight and real soil. A world where Kesh cubs could grow up without fear, where their species would have a second chance. It had been worth it, Eli thought. Every year, every sacrifice. Humanity had lost Earth to make room for refugees from a dozen dying worlds. They'd scattered to the stars, playing shepherd to species who had nowhere else to go, and somehow, impossibly, they'd become something greater than they'd been before. Not conquerors, but guardians. Human Eli looks peaceful, Raka whispered to the others, thinking he couldn't hear. Her small paw rested gently on his arm. Why does he look so peaceful if he's just resting? Another cub, older and wiser, spoke softly. Because he's dreaming, Raka. Humans dream even when they're awake. They dream of worlds they'll never see, of futures they're building for others. That sounds lonely, Raka murmured. No, said the older cub. I think it makes them happy. Look at his face. Eli could feel himself drifting, the conversation becoming distant. His chest felt lighter somehow, the constant ache fading. He thought of Earth, not with longing, but with fondness. He thought of the Kesh cubs who would grow up strong and free. He thought of the colony world waiting ahead, where new trees would grow and new stories would be told. His last conscious thought was a simple one. Worth it. All of it worth it. The cubs stayed with him through the night cycle, their warm bodies curled against his cooling one. When the adult Kesh found them in the morning, Raka was still there, her small paw on Eli's arm, her voice breaking as she asked the question again. He said it was just a rest. Then why does he look so peaceful? The elder Kesh knelt down, gathering the cubs close. Because, little ones, he was human. And humans rest peacefully when they know they've done good, when they know those who come after them will be safe. Later they would hold ceremonies in the human tradition. They would record Eli's name in the ship's memorial, alongside thousands of other humans who'd given their lives so others might live. They would make sure the cubs understood what humanity had sacrificed, what they'd chosen freely to become. But in that quiet moment, as starlight painted the observation deck in silver and gold, the truth was simpler. Eli had found his peace among the stars, surrounded by the future he'd helped create, one small human rest at a time.